Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Outer Range Season 2, Episode 3. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So pretty much like I did last episode, I'm going to go time frame by time frame. So we're going to start off with the past, with all the stuff with Perry. Obviously he's trying to fit in more in, that time frame, and he's, got an idea and stuff, and he's got to try and lay low. And what's interesting though is Royal let's go to this place so that he could get some clothes. He ends up getting a hat, and what's her name, Miss Thornbury or something like that, and it turns out she is Royal's great grandniece. Not great grandniece, grandniece. Apparently, it's his sister's grandchild, and it's like, yeah, she's the only living relative he has, because his mom, which I thought obviously it was the times and stuff, but he was like, yeah, my sister was married off at 15 to a man 10 years her senior, because she had to. She had two kids. One of those kids had a child, and that was her. So that's the only living family he's got. And after that, the only family he has is the family he has. So that's interesting. It's also interesting too, because he didn't go into it too much, but it's like, yeah, he knows exactly when to be fair, it's like most of his family's been dead by the time he came here and grew up and stuff, but because he looked up records to try and find out if he could find any family in the town records, and he found his only living relative. But there's still a sadness to it, because you're most likely reading death certificates and stuff about, oh, this is exactly when my sister died, or my mom or dad died, and it was this long after I fell into the hole. It's stuff like that, which will probably mess with your head. But we didn't really get into that too much. But what it came down to was, it's like, oh, did you tell her? And Royal was like, no, she has no idea that we're family. And it's like, yeah, once again, Royal's kept this a secret from everyone. You're only just finding out about it. Your mom literally just found out about it, this season. So they had that whole conversation about letting the past go, because Royal's basically, it's like, you're not going to do anything but drown in that if you don't find a way to kind of live here. But for Perry, it's like, no. Just because it worked out that way for you doesn't mean it's going to work out the same for me. But I forgot what it was exactly for Perry. What Royal said to Perry. It was something along the lines of kind of like, it isn't just about you. I think almost kind of implying right, it's also about how much, it's not about how it affects you directly. It's about the people around you that might be affected that you're not really 100% considering, because you're so wrapped up in your business of, hey, I'm trying to find my wife. Most likely Rebecca was here. So, this is my only way to get my family back. But he talks with Royal later on about how for him, it's like, I was so angry, from Rebecca leaving, it messed me up for a while. And, not only did my wife leave me, and he doesn't know the reasons why, but also that, yeah, I ended up abandoning my daughter. I ended up killing somebody, and it's all because of that anger. But Royal was kind of like, yeah, you're lying to yourself. Which Perry's like, no, I'm not. How can you speak like you know me? Which Royal was like, I'm literally the only person that probably can understand you. The fact is, don't make it seem like this wasn't he was trying to make it seem like, hey, this is what I'm trying to make things right. I think Royal was looking at it like, no, you're running away. At least my excuse is, when I was young and it was an accident, you are a fully grown man and you made that choice to jump into, don't make it seem like it was some selfless thing of trying to fix everything. It's like, no, you were probably looking for an escape. You didn't know what was going to happen when you fell down there. Maybe you'd end up in a different time. There was no guarantee you would end up in the same place that Rebecca did anyway. You didn't think that through. You just did it. That was kind of a very selfish thing on your part, but don't make it seem like, oh, you were so desperate to fix everything. You were just trying to run away from everything because you were so busy drowning your pain. Understandable. We humans, we can't, sometimes we drown in our pain. I say that first, and I say that as someone who kind of does that himself, on a lot of bases. That's how you just kind of, can't find your way out of your circumstances, and you just want to run away. And guess what he did? And it's what his dad said to him, you can tell irked his nerves. But I do like how that scene was shot, because the moment young Royal puts his head down, the camera cuts and he lifts his head up, and it's Josh Brolin, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting, that the face you would see in that moment, because I guess for him, he even said oh, it's kind of messed up that you are more of a dad for me in this time than you are as my own actual dad. And even young Royal being like, oh, did that make you feel any better? Did that make the pain go away? And he was like, no. He's almost like, see? So I guess once again, don't make it seem like you're like, admit that it is like a selfish thing of you ran away. You just try to get away from your pain. You just want to make yourself feel better by being like, no, I was trying to fix everything. That's why I made that wild and brash decision type of thing. So I don't know. That's what I'm kind of taking from the scene. And I think that also plays into later on what he, once again, kind of showing that anger in him, that he ends up running into Wayne Tillerson at the bar, and lo and behold, Wayne is cheating on Cecilia, and then Perry, I was like, oh, he's going to roll up on you. I'm like, are we going to have a literal repeat of the Trevor thing? Which I did say, like, oh, history will probably end up repeating itself, but in the past, because it's like, yeah, when he probably looks at Wayne, all he does see is Trevor. It's like, yeah, that Tillerson family, but no good people. So Wayne tried to like attack him, and he like punches him. It's like, oh, you broke my nose. He's like, lucky that's all I did to you. It's like, yeah, but history could have easily repeated itself, and it's just like, once again, that's inside of that's inside. I was about to say Royal, but I keep saying that. What's inside of Perry and Rhett? Like I say, I feel like we see it more with Perry, that anger, than we do with Rhett, because I don't really remember like that coming up too much with Rhett last season, but maybe it did. But distinctly remember it in Perry. So once again, just showing how Perry and Royal are so cut from the same cloth. Like he's inherited a lot more from his dad than you would initially think. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see where that goes, especially with everything, especially present day, trying to understand what did go down between Wayne and Cecilia. Like, did Royal find out? It's like, he doesn't seem like the type to like run and tell that thing. Like, if Wayne's being a piece of shit, he'll call Wayne out for it, but he won't do anything to hurt Cecilia. I don't know, because I don't even know if he views Cecilia in that same light, despite knowing like, oh, Cecilia is the mother of your children. She just hasn't become the mother of your children yet. So a lot of that. Once again, how is this going to play out timey-wimey wise? But either way, so that's where we are kind of in the past. Now, jumping to present day, let's start off with Autumn's circumstances, which is interesting, too, how this all ties into, like, that dream Royal had. He was like, yeah, Amy came back, but the house was gone, and it's just like, yeah, it's like, it's kind of weird with everything they're dealing with the land, and ultimately what ends up happening in this episode, where their farm was collateral for Perry showing up in court. That was the only way they could get him out from bail, and lo and behold, like, Perry can't show up, because, once again, Rhett definitely doesn't know, because Rhett just thinks, like, oh, Perry is gone. I would assume, actually, like I said, like, I feel like if Cecilia actually knew, she'd be probably a little more panicked than she is about, like, I feel like that would have come up before now if she knew. So he probably is saying, like, right, Perry left a look for, or maybe just Perry's going in general. Maybe she thought, maybe the justification is like, oh, Perry's just running away from life. And maybe that's how Rhett chalks it up as well. I don't know. Because Royal's excuse is like, right there, he's out looking for his daughter. But either way, like that dream in conjunction with, Autumn going to church, which all ties into that. When did episode 1? It was the first episode of the series where Royal went to the future and saw that stuff. He saw Autumn with like kind of like some cult people. I think he saw Luke, and he saw I was literally about to say Lily, the actress who actually plays Cecilia. Saw them, if I remember correctly. And once again, this also has to deal with, like, obviously the Tillersons. It also has to deal with the Nia, who was, like, checking out his land. Like, all of it's connected, but especially tying it to the Autumn stuff, because she goes to church and she talks about, like, specifically references, like, something from the Bible, and she's talking about mentors and stuff and wanting one. And she kind of goes along with the pastor, ends up talking to this lady about her wasted time. It's like, because she's like, right, I want my cigarette. I get my daily cigarette. Why won't you give it to me? Like, I've only got borrowed time anyway, so who cares if I'm smoking? It doesn't matter. My time's already up. I know that my end is coming. But then, like, Autumn got on her about, right, you waste your time. We're supposed to believe that God gives some of us time, which he does, but then it's like up to others of us to figure out what to do with that time. And it's like, here you are going to get your cigarette, you already know it, so what are you fighting? What are you so afraid of? Why should you get more time when you sitting here wasting it? And the lady was like, honestly, I like you, and talked to the nurse being like, why can't you be smart like that? And the nurse was just standing there like, I don't get paid enough for this bullshit. But it seems like that's a daily occurrence. And so for Autumn, she felt good about it. It's like, oh, like I struck a chord with someone. It's interesting how that ties into a conversation with the pastor later, where he was trying to minimize what she did, and maybe there's truth and merit to his point of, you didn't help her, all you did was give her dime store therapy. The fact of the matter is, she has a head injury, she's not going to remember what you said today, or like even your name, and you go there tomorrow, you're just going to be repeating the cycle. So, because she's talking about like, right, why did Jesus get nailed to the cross? It's like, because he was the Son of God. It's like, no. He spoke the truth and people didn't like it. That she's like, that's what I'm doing. Because she believes in action, and she feels like praying is inaction. It's like, what will that really do? It's like, you got to kind of make moves, which it does feel like her religious like elements this episode do feel like they are set up for her to go off and start her own cult based around time and the void and the hole and all that. But also, let's not forget, she was in fact part of a cult, as we saw in the opening to the episode. That might have been the cold opening, where she was with her mom. I know it didn't even correlate in my head of like, right, because like the whole conversation in the last episode between her and Cecilia was like, right, my mom was cagey about stuff, and then I got adopted. So kind of, because didn't she say it was like 10 or something like that, when she was like put on the medicine for her head to kind of like distract her from the conversations about where she comes from and stuff. So once again, she was also adopted. So what happened to your mom? Did your mom die of something, and then like the people in the church like ended up adopting you, or did she up and leave again? Who knows? I'd assume, I feel like I don't remember if Autumn talked a lot about that, like about her mom, like, oh, maybe she died or something. I just don't remember. Just only that she brought up like the whole being adopted thing. And that's why I was kind of confused last episode, because I was like, are you talking about Rebecca as your mom? Or are you talking, when you say mom, are you talking about your adopted mom? I thought she was talking about two different people, and it seems to be that case. But it's interesting too, because like obviously there's supposed to be a direct correlation between that cult stuff and where Autumn currently stands, like her whole conversation with the priest of like, right, she wants to just help people, and he's like, right, then you have to learn to be of service. And she's like, well, thank you, pastor. He's like, no, thank you, because she was like, you're getting snippy with me because you don't like the fact is I'm speaking truth, I'm giving these people power. But he's like, no, you're not really helping. You think you are, you're pretending that you are, but no, this isn't real help. You have to go about it a different way, and just, we'll see where things kind of go on that front. Because she also visited Billy, who is now home. Wayne wants Luke to look after him, because it's like, right, we're not going to trust some random nurses, some strangers to look after our family. I also appreciate Luke is still losing his shit, because when the nurses rolled up with Billy, he's thinking them in like your stereotypical like sexy nurse outfit, and then it turns out no, that was all in his head. So, which, Billy was happy to see her, and obviously wasn't too happy when he heard about the royal side of things of like, wait, he's like, I thought you were going, she's like, I thought so too, but Royal took me, and he was like, Royal, and she's like, yeah, he thinks I'm his family. So it's like, right, Billy did a lot for her, and it's like, was it worth it in the end? I don't know. I'm so curious how Billy feels about all that. It's like, Billy's kind of hard to read sometimes, but I also thought was interesting where it seemed like Luke was fascinated with her. Obviously, he's been getting all those visions of her and stuff, so he talks to her about the hole, and right, he touched it, which, despite all her connections, indirect connections to it, well, both direct and indirect, but she's never directly interacted with the minerals or whatever, so she has never had the vision. But we are seeing Luke's visions come to fruition. Like this episode in particular, where he's talking to Autumn, it's literally one of the flashes. Because I was like, oh, was that from? I was like, oh. At first I was like, oh, obviously it's got to be Luke. But then I was like, no, maybe it's Billy, because last episode I was reminded of, right, there is a thing between Billy and Autumn. And like Autumn's like, right, your brother is something special, but that doesn't make you any less special. It's just like, right, Luke just feels like nothing he ever does is good enough. His brother's the one that kind of gets the special treatment, whereas he kind of gets like this shit end of the deal, especially with his father. It's just, hey, I'm looking for dad's love, and dad just never gave it to me. And his time spent with Autumn is leading to his dad getting pissed off at him because it's like, right, your brother needed you. I literally gave you one job. Protect your brother, look after your brother, be there for him. It's the least you could do, and you couldn't even fucking do that. How can I trust you to do anything else? The fact is that you are a disappointment. Everything you've ever done has basically been a disappointment to me, son. And for Luke, it's like, I've done everything. I handled the ranch. I did all of that just so you'd give me a hug. You know, it's just like calling his son out. So it's like, right, if you hate me so much, if you believe Trevor hated me so much, go off and be with your mom if that's where your heart lies. Because there was the conversation of the oldest son, Trevor, is supposed to take over the father's circumstances. The son, the youngest is supposed to be, God, I forgot what he was saying about the youngest. And then the middle child, which is Luke, is you're supposed to be the backup in case something goes wrong, which, yeah, you were supposed to take over Trevor's position, but you failed me and you're a disappointment, son. And that's just too much for Luke, to the point that he tells his dad once again that he hates him, and it's like, right, cool, just you can leave and do whatever you want to. He's like, yeah, also make sure you take Luke with you, which are like, okay, implying that his dad overheard him kind of acting crazy in episode 1, overheard all of that. So he was actually going to pick up a fire poker and stab his brother, but didn't. Because it's like, right, he blames Billy because it's just like, right, you're the reason why I'm never seen as good enough. You know, would you be having the same feelings towards Trevor? Probably not, because Trevor, like, was desperate for your father's love, probably. I mean, who knows? Maybe because Billy's the one that kind of gets it unconditionally, whereas like with Luke, it is conditional love. And it's just like, man, you know, and there was even that line from Royal, which I really like, where he was like, the worst thing that ever happened to your sons is being having you for a father, being born to you. Then we have like Luke take some of the minerals and like wipe it across his lips to get high, which Billy did the same thing with Wayne, which like, the whole, once again, father kissing son on the lips thing is weird. I'm not alone on that. A lot of people think that's weird. I don't know, man. It's just like, and he also got a second-hand high because of it, because he ended up passing out on top of Billy as they were both like high as a kite. Like, was that even you seeing a vision? That just looked like that was you getting high. But who knows what they saw. We only got like a fraction of that. But maybe that's all that was. Or maybe because it was more directly with Billy, he got more of the hit from the minerals and stuff. Whereas maybe Wayne didn't get as much. Who knows? The Abbotts went to court. Obviously, Perry not being there led to them losing their land, and obviously Rhett wants to go toe-to-toe with Wayne, but that's just going to cause more issues, so Royal stopped that. They try to go to the bank because now they're in a position of either they forfeit their land by Monday, or by Monday they have to come up with $500,000. So they're trying to... Royal wants to call in every favor they've got, but Cecilia, I keep wanting to say Lily. I'm so sorry. I guess because once again, the actress who plays her is Lily Taylor, and just like every time I'm seeing her name, I see just her name is Lily and not just Cecilia. So I have to pause every time. But Cecilia and Royal go to the bank. It's like, right, they're trying to get a loan. They don't have anything that could cover such a large loan as kind of collateral. And it's like, right, my family's banked here for like 80 years, so come on. And it's like, well, the Abbott name used to mean something, but after what your son did, it doesn't mean as much. And it just pissed Cecilia off. She ends up killing the fly, and she's like, well, they're attracted to shit, Lindsay. Like, you know, clean this up and you won't have to worry about it or something like that. Royal doesn't even say anything. He just kind of looks at Lindsay and bounces. But it's like, yeah, that was kind of... Once again, she's got a mean streak in her too. It isn't like just Royal's got all the anger. It's like, to be fair, it's been one thing after another. All you want to do is protect your family and look after them. And why is protecting your family such a difficult thing? So, having dinner with Rhett and Maria, who was initially reluctant to come over because she was like, yeah, like probably not the best time to reintroduce me to your parents with everything going on. But it was actually Cecilia that was like, nah, bring your girlfriend Maria over. Not too receptive. Well, Royal wasn't too receptive of her suggestion. It was like some kind of particular program. She was like, right, if you can prove that you're growing even just one crop. But I'm like, well, because Royal and them know that, like, right, the bank's not going to give them the loan. I mean, he could have just said that, like, right, retry. To be fair, they were going a different route. Maybe what Maria was suggesting could have worked, but it feels like they were probably implying, like, no, what we did was kind of in the same vein, and it wouldn't have mattered if we tried to approach it from, because it would have still been a no. And also, like, that bridge has been extra burned because of Cecilia cussing Lindsay out. But it's like, yeah, it kind of goes back to last episode where it's just like she's always on her P's and Q's. She's always, like, trying to be so friendly to people. And it's just like that mask is slipping more and more with everything going on. That it's just infuriating Cecilia with each bit of passing time. And I love that Autumn shows up partway through dinner, and Maria's like, oh, that's the crazy girl that was with Billy. And she's like, yeah, in a world, like, in this world, we're poor for only being sane or something like that. So it's like, right, the world can do with a little crazy. Like, crazy is how some of life has gotten expanded, and how, you know, sanity doesn't always get you what you need and want in this world. It's taken a little bit of crazy from other people to kind of shift the world and change it to what it was. Kind of like, yeah, don't just kind of be quick to throw me in the crazy category. She's had to deal with that for so long, I'm sure. Ultimately, we have Cecilia making a deal with Wayne, which are like interesting. Now, especially as we're learning about your coupled past. She wants to borrow the money from Wayne, but he kind of doesn't want to do it because he's petty. Because he's like, I will go this far. I care about you. I don't want your land taken from you. But this is a middle finger to Royal, and I'm willing to keep up this middle finger for as long as possible. But it's like, right, I will give you the 500 grand, but it's on one condition. Hey, that condition is Royal has to apologize for stealing Cecilia from Wayne, and also give over the Western pasture, which is like, I told you that's where all this stuff went down. There's already other people invested in it. And it's like, she's like, don't worry about it. It's like, yeah, he wants to apologize, wants an apology from you from, you know, he perceives it as you stole me from him. His words, not mine. But Royal's like, yet here you are saying them regardless. And she's like, this is an opportunity to claim back, back our good name. But for Royal, it's like, it's your name. Don't make it seem like this is about us and our family. What it's about is your family, your name. He's like, my name is Royal Sumner, like, not Abbott. All you care about is restoring the Abbott name, because there's a whole constant conversation of, it's not Royal's land despite being married and in the family. You married into this land in, like, history. She's the Abbott, not you. So that's where it's kind of like the dagger's always been twisted in him of, oh, this isn't your land. It's Cecilia's. Like, that's constantly being thrown in his face. So I think that's why it really set him off even more, because it's like, right, this isn't about our family. This is just about your pride and your name and your family name being besmirched. Yeah, sure, me and our kids have that name, but it's still like you're pulling at it from, this is our legacy. That's all you care about, is restoring that. So he goes, as he's driving, I assume he was going to go over to the Tillerson place, but he starts getting a headache, and lo and behold, finds a portal, and it's like, oh, it's open. Who crawls out? None other than Joy. So it makes you wonder, how long was Joy in, was it 1882? Is that where she was? Like, how long was she there? But it's like, yeah, funny. Once again, the face she saw last episode was a young Royal. Not less, are we going to find out that the same portal that took Royal to where he grew up, where he met, like, the Abbotts and grew up, you know, on that farm and stuff, is that going to be the same portal Joy took? But because I didn't even think about that, where it's like, oh, Joy wouldn't have to wait forever. She would just have to wait for the portal that took Royal. And, like, that didn't even cross my mind last episode, because I was like, I'm so stupid for not even thinking about that. Because she wouldn't know that off top of her head, because she heard the name Royal, and it's like, it's a very unique name, but still, like, she's not going to piece it together of, I don't think she found anything last season to point out the fact this Royal's not from present day. that he's from the 1800s and stuff. Like, I don't think that was ever clarified or figured out by her last season, not that I'm aware of. But like, yeah, she'd have to figure out like it's the same royal, and somehow he got to present day. So it's like, right, all you have to do is stick around him long enough, and that's most likely what happened, because that's the only time. So she wouldn't have had to wait too long, because like I said, I'd assume, considering the size he is, about right around now is when he gets taken. But it could be like, once again, like a few years later. So she might have been there a hot minute, maybe not. Maybe the next episode will give us some clarity on that. So that's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens. Because we also don't know if there's going to be any that open up with Perry's circumstance, because Royal never saw one in all that time. But, you know, as because Luke was saying like, right, it closed and it's gone, but she's like, closed and gone are not mutually exclusive. You think just because it's closed, it's gone. It's like, no, because it has constantly popped up, and obviously like he dug a hole and yet closed up, but it's like, yeah, you still dug a hole and found the goo, and that led to the bison. So some very, very interesting developments. It's going to be interesting to see where ultimately all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.